So I wanted to do a video comparing my diet, which is a vegan diet or a 100% plant-based diet, the macros of my diet, to the macros of a hunter-gatherer diet, to the macros of a carnivore diet. And we're going to use the United States basic diet and I'm going to leave the resources I got all these from in the description. The U.S. diet is the basis. Now, the U.S. diet, the protein is only 12%, which people might find amazing because people think that the United States diet is so high in protein. It's not. It's only 12% of calories. Carbohydrates, 46%, fat, 42%. Now, we're going to compare that to the Hadza, which are a group of hunter-gatherers from Africa. Their protein is 24%. Carbohydrates 65%, fat is only 11%. The Simani, which is a Bolivian, and I might have pronounced that wrong, it's a Bolivian hunter-gatherer group that are believed to be descended from the Inca. Their protein is 14%, carbs are 72%, fat is only 14%. The Okinawan macros are as follows. Protein is 9%, carbohydrates 85%, fat 6%. My macros from yesterday are as follows. Protein 36%, carbs 37%, fat 28%. Now mine are not the same obviously every day, but they're pretty close to that because I'm trying to get a 33-33-33 diet. Now let's look at the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet, the protein is these are the recommended allowances. I wrote all this down. The recommended allowances for a 175-pound person. Remember, right now I'm about 190 pounds. I'm trying to get down to 170 to 175 pounds. Okay, so these are the recommended allowances for a person that's 175 pounds. Protein. This is the CDC recommendation, Center for Disease Control. So you'll see that I'm pretty much in range except for carbs. Carbs, I'm a little low because my macros are as follows in grams. Overall calories for yesterday were 1,602, which is a little bit high on the calories yesterday for my weight loss diet. Protein, it was 175 grams. Carbs were 183 grams, fats were 54 grams. Now the recommended CDC allowances for a person of 175 pounds is protein 60 to 210 grams, carbohydrates 255 grams, fats 54 to 95 grams. Now a carnivore dieter's macro percentages are crazy. Their carnivore macros are protein 38%, fat 62%. Now, what I want to point out is my diet is not the typical vegan diet. The typical vegan diet is if it's a healthy vegan diet, is far more similar to a hunter-gatherer's macros than mine is. But keep in mind, most of probably about a third of my carbohydrates are fiber. I did not include that in this for some reason, I forgot to. But about a third of my carbs are fiber because my only carbohydrate source when I'm trying to lose weight are fibrous vegetables. So, essentially, the hunter-gatherers have high carb, high fiber, very low fat, very low protein. The Okinawans have very low protein, very low fat, and higher carbohydrates. Mine's about even throughout all three because that's what I'm trying to do to have an environment in my body that is suited for losing fat. Now, what you need to understand is the carnivore dieting. The diet they claim, especially some folks, claim that this is the natural diet, this is the diet that humans have always eaten. This is not true. The typical hunter-gatherer societies are very carbohydrate-centric. Now, as I stated in my last video, what's natural is not necessarily what's healthy. And that's why my macros look different than a hunter-gatherer's macros, or say the Okinawan diet's macros. Now the Okinawan diet does seemingly promote longevity, but you can always tweak it. So the thing is, what you need to understand with this, and this is the thing, I'm going to leave a link to the Okinawan, one of the studies of the Okinawan macros, and what it points out is a lot of people are talking about how branched-chain amino acids are bad. Branched-chain amino acids cause disease. Branched-chain amino acids, wah, wah, wah. The fact of the matter is, supplementation with branched-chain amino acids in mice promotes longevity. Now, I know mice aren't humans, but mice are very similar genetically to humans. I think one of the primary reasons, and I don't think this has been looked at enough, and I'm not a scientist, nor am I a doctor, so remember, nothing in this video is medical advice, but I think one of the primary reasons that there are high branched-chain amino acids in people with diabetes and obese people isn't because the branched-chain amino acids are causing this syndrome. What I think you'll find out is it's probably due to food choices. Why am I saying this? Fat people have a tendency to choose a meat and sweet diet. What that means is a fat person. Now, I worked with fat people in a clinical mental health setting to help them lose weight. What fat people eat primarily are meats, chicken, beef, pork, ham, bologna, stuff like that. That's with hot dogs, sausages, okay? Sweets, pastries, candy, cookies, baked goods, things like that. And also they consume a lot of simple carbohydrates, mashed potatoes, white bread, things like that. So what you will find in a fat person is higher branched-chain amino acids, obviously, because they are consuming more protein than a thin person, but they're also consuming gobs and gobs and gobs of refined carbohydrates. Now, what I also want to do is I want to talk about briefly, I'm going to get into a whole video based entirely on protein, and then another one based entirely on branched-chain amino acids and their importance in health. The thing is, with plant protein, the negative effects of protein seem to be ameliorated when you choose plant protein. Now, a high-protein diet is usually correlated with a shorter lifespan. However, a high plant protein diet is correlated to a 5% longer lifespan, which is not that much, only 5% longer than average, but consider this, a regular protein, high-protein diet is correlated to a shortened lifespan. So what I'm saying is, not only is a high plant protein diet ameliorating to things like heart disease, and it even doesn't cause the kidney troubles and things like that, but it also makes you live longer, not shorter, essentially. So my point is that the source of protein is more important than the quantity of protein. And I think that's also true with carbohydrates to a large extent. However, like Dr. Roy Walford said in one of his books, what you have to understand is this: with the Cron diet, calorie restriction with optimal nutrition, you cannot simply fix without reducing calories. It's a mistake. Nobody wants to hear that they have to reduce the amount of food that they eat and the amount. So where are you going to start reducing calories? Well, the easiest place is carbohydrates. A lot of people eat way too many carbohydrates. And the second easiest place is fats. A lot of people eat way too many fats. Then you replace those things. Like with carbohydrates, you seek your carbohydrates entirely from fibrous vegetables, root vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, things like that. And then with fat, you seek it from monounsaturated sources, primarily like olive oil and nuts and seeds. And to be honest, I'm going to do another video in the future about the so-called omega-6, omega-3 problem, because I don't really think that is a problem amongst vegans. People try to claim that it is. What's interesting, for example, there's a gentleman who wrote a book that I'm going to review on the moderate life, and he eschewed fish and simply took a volume restricted diet. They didn't know about calories in his time. It was in the 1400s. It was an Italian gentleman. He didn't eat fish, and he was just fine for his whole life. And if you remember, omega-3s did not become a thing on the public radar until the early 2000s. I read one of the first and best books on omega-3 supplementation, I think, which was the Omega RX Zone by Dr. Barry Sears, the author of the Zone Diet, who was responsible for a lot of the popularization of omega-3s, along with Dr. Perricone, a dermatologist, and Dr. Daniel G. Amen. And that's about all for this video. I think that I covered enough to point out that this alleged idea that the carnivore dieters are following a diet that is similar to hunter-gatherers is simply not true. A vegan diet is far more similar to that of a hunter-gatherer. And also, it's important not to give into naturalistic fallacy.